In the news today, a taxman and a couch worry Thabo Mbeki, McDonald accused of raising hell, mistaken identity leads to fire, a football manager dribbles his chick. Welcome to SABC News. Yes, we're still broadcasting. I'm Delta Makafula. Good evening. Ex-Commissioner of the South African Revenue Services, Pravin Gordhan, has been admitted to Sandton Clinic after breaking his leg, a result of a football accident where he fell off the couch while watching football. Get well messages came pouring in from all sectors of government, with ex-South African President Thabo Mbeki expressing his dismay over the accident. Mbeki highlighted how he couldn't believe how such a tragic fate could befall a man of Gordhan's caliber, who on being appointed as the Commissioner of SARS, instituted a successful tax collection strategy. Mbeki highlighted that Gordhan is a strategic thinker, an efficient implementer, and an effective leader, which made him a good fit, as this was what was required at a time when SARS was riddled with archaic tax systems and a historic culture of low tax morality. Under Gordhan's leadership, the perception of SARS as unprofessional and autocratic was changed, and tax legislation awareness was raised, resulting in better tax compliance and higher and more efficient revenue collections. From 1999 to 2009, during Gordhan's tenure as Commissioner of SARS, tax revenue in South Africa increased from 185 billion to 608 billion, representing a compounded annual rate of increase of 12.6%. Mbeki wished Gordhan well and said that he hoped that this unfortunate accident would raise awareness about the dangers of gravity when horizontally negotiating a couch. African Christian Democratic Party, ACDP, has accused Procter & Gamble of using supernatural Satanist ways to advance the success of its business and consequently advance the development of hell. Musala Phillips, brand manager for Procter & Gamble South Africa, refuted this claim.
Our success lies in our philosophy to build from within. This philosophy fosters a culture of trust, shared experiences, and a unified purpose. We obviously subscribe to the Miller notion, the gist of which is that tertiary graduates are more likely to plan a long-term career with their employers. Hence, 68% of our appointments in 2009 were graduates. This approach assists us to get the right job fit because our employees cease to not only be intellectual property to the company, but they also firmly believe in the company's values, which drives productivity. An example of the success of the effectiveness of this approach is our current chairman of the board, president and chief executive, Bob McDonald, who joined Procter & Gamble in 1980 at the age of 26. Since Bob's appointment in 2009, his leadership has grown Procter & Gamble's average sales by an average of 4% per year and raised earnings per share to an average of 7% between the downturn years of 2009 and 2010. Shareholders received 55.5 billion in dividends and a payback of 6 billion through purchase of Procter & Gamble stock.
A man was arrested in connection with a fire at the Cell C head offices in Johannesburg, which destroyed 3 rose bushes. On questioning, the man, a Mr. Matlala from Gamarishani in Limpopo, said he was upset that his former boss, Craig van der Merwe, had closed shop of their factory and joined Cell C as CEO, leaving many employees like him jobless and destitute.
Yeah, I want my job back. I have 13 children that are hungry. I'll burn more trees.
Matlala was informed that it was in fact Alan, not Craig, that was recently appointed as the CEO of Cell C. Known as the man who brought mobile telephony to South Africa through Vodacom, which required a man of Alan, not Craig's experience, no nonsense and never say die attitude to build and entrench Vodacom in the mobile telephony space in South Africa. Alan, not Craig, is credited with building Vodacom into an organization with a market capitalization of 150 billion, enjoying double-digit growth every year from 1995 to 2008. On hearing the news, Matlala apologized.
Sorry.
And in sports news, Arsene Wenger, longtime manager of Arsenal, plans to start a Chicks Football League to entertain fans during the off-season. Wenger said that the best time to start teaching chicks football is immediately after they hatch. Wenger said that he hopes to make success of this venture the same way that he has made of Arsenal. Wenger is renowned for developing great players from grassroots, an inexpensive way to maintain a steady supply of talent without having to fork out millions to buy players. Former Barcelona player Johan Cruyff was tipped to land the job. However, David Dein, vice chairman of Arsenal at the time, decided against it and instead appointed the little-known Wenger. Dein had met Wenger in 1988 and followed his career with interest. He recognized that although Cruyff was popular, Wenger had spent his career developing young players and building teams, which were the skills and competencies required for the job. South African sports commentator Bruno Kukumur said Wenger is a miracle worker who could teach a 3-month-old baby to bend it like Beckham.
Mr. Leroy, let me tell you something. That Wenger is hectic, man. He's a miracle worker. He's the only manager in the Premiership to go the whole season undefeated, 49 straight matches. He's got an eye for hot talent. And if there's hot chicks out there, he'll find them.
Wenger has won the most titles of any Arsenal manager in history, and he was the only Premier League manager to have made a profit on transfers, with an average profit of £4.4 million per season, far more than any other club. An example of his successful approach is Nicolas Anelka, bought for £500,000 and sold for £24 million 2 years later. This development program has made Arsenal the only profitable club on the transfer market in Britain and established Arsenal at number 7 on Forbes' list of 10 most valuable franchises. English football fans can now look forward to watching some hot chicks football during the off-season. And now, in a section sponsored by the Farmers Consortium of Mafikeng, a note about best practice with regards to manager selection.
Yes. You cannot recruit for a position. You need to recruit for a company. You need to take into consideration succession. You need to take into consideration the EE plan and all those things that you need to comply to. And secondly, when I talk holistic perspective, is also people normally use 1 or 2 assessments, or they focus more on one assessment than others, for example, the interview, rather than the reference checks or the psychometric tests and all those things. So you need to have a variety of assessments which you look at in a holistic manner before you make a decision.
We'd like to summarize best practice in terms of selection, much of which has been illustrated in our news stories, along with the resultant value of good selection. Selection should focus on correct job fit in terms of company culture, over and above the technical qualities. Selection must comply with the company strategy in terms of legislation. Screening and competency-based interviews are the key first steps in the selection process. It is advisable to have at least 2 interviews to allow for a more unbiased view of candidates. It is also vital to have different tools for evaluating technical competencies and cultural fit. And, as an extra post-selection measure, the employee could be put through a 1-year evaluation process.
We hope you have enjoyed the news tonight. Our objective has been to demonstrate successful managers and leaders, the results of correct selection. We have illustrated how through the selection and leadership, they have added value to the organizations. Correct and good selection outcomes in the examples illustrated have resulted in the following: pressure being taken off top management, increased shareholder value through the following: improving revenue figures and cost reduction, as well as retaining and motivating staff, skills and employee development, strategy development and implementation. So when you select your next organizational leader, pick wisely. Thank you.